What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jose Show, starring me, Jose. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We have a lot to talk about today, and we are going to start off the show talking about Aaron Hernandez, the former NFL star that went to jail, and days after going to jail, in his own jail cell, he hung himself. This morning, Aaron Hernandez, the former star, tie end with the New England Patriots, who was convicted of first-degree murder in 2015, hanged himself in prison on Wednesday, the authorities said. He was discovered in his cell by corrections officers at the Souza Baranowski Correctional Center in Shirley, Massachusetts, around 3 a.m. The Massachusetts Department of Corrections said in a statement, life-saving techniques were attempted and he was transported to a hospital where he was pronounced dead at 4:07 a.m., the department said. Mr. Hernandez hanged himself using a bedsheet that he attached to his cell window. The statement said Mr. Hernandez also attempted to block his door from the inside by jamming the door with various items. Mr. Hernandez was housed in a single cell in the general prison population. The statement said the Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Communications, Christopher Fallon, told the Associated Press that officials had not been concerned that Mr. Hernandez was a suicide risk. He also said no suicide note had been found. The case will be investigated by the state police. Mr. Hernandez's suicide came on the day some of his former teammates would be visiting the White House to celebrate the recent Super Bowl victory. Mr. Hernandez, 27, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of Odin L. Lloyd, who was dating the sister of Mr. Hernandez's fiancée, Shayanna Jenkins. He had appealed the verdict. The body of Mr. Lloyd, a 27-year-old semi-professional football player, was found shot 6 times in June 2013 in a pit at an industrial park near Mr. Hernandez's home in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Mr. Hernandez's motive in that case, prosecutors said, was that Mr. Lloyd spoke with people Mr. Hernandez did not like at a bar in Boston. Mr. Hernandez was found not guilty just last Friday in a second murder case, a drive-by shooting of 2 people in Boston in 2012. Mr. Hernandez was born on November 6, 1989, and grew up in a tough neighborhood in Bristol, Connecticut, and played at the University of Florida, where he was chosen the country's best tight end. He also ran into trouble there, getting into a bar fight and testing positive for marijuana. He was a 4th-round NFL draft pick by the Patriots after many teams passed on him, leery of his reputation. Teamed with another star, Rob Gronkowski, Mr. Hernandez gave the Patriots a tight end combo that was second to none. He played 3 years in the NFL, catching 175 passes for 18 touchdowns. He played in 1 Super Bowl in 2012, catching a team-high 8 passes in a 21-17 loss to the Giants. He signed a $40 million contract extension in 2012 to continue playing for the Patriots. In 2013, Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Lloyd began dating sisters, and the 2 men socialized together. In June 2013, at a Boston nightclub, Mr. Hernandez became angry with people Mr. Lloyd was talking with. Investigators said that Mr. Hernandez might have suspected that Mr. Lloyd was talking with them about the double murder case that Mr. Hernandez was eventually acquitted of. Though no murder weapon was found and no witness to the shooting of Mr. Lloyd came forward, prosecutors built a circumstantial case tying Mr. Hernandez to the killing. Mr. Hernandez's fiancée, Miss Jenkins, spoke of a box that she said Mr. Hernandez instructed her to remove from their house and discard the day after Mr. Lloyd's body was found. She was also said Mr. Hernandez called her from, sorry, the police station and asked her to give some money to Ernest Wallace, a friend who would eventually also be charged in the killing. It was enough for the jury, which deliberated for 6 days before finding Mr. Hernandez guilty. Mr. Hernandez's death means his murder conviction is expected to be vacated under a centuries-old legal doctrine enshrined in Massachusetts criminal case law. And though the story goes on and on and on about this person, about this murderer, in my opinion about this story, I think it is very sad how nowadays there's people, especially that come from you know, good from doing good stuff in their life, like playing football, being an actor, doing you name it, to becoming a criminal. I mean, in my opinion, this is just very sad and very very sad and just so devastating having to know that there's just some people out there that change. Some change for the better, but just some change for the bad. And that right there is just not good. And in my opinion, I feel like Mr. Hernandez did deserve to, go to jail for shooting Mr. Lloyd. Obviously, because, I mean, it ain't gonna be shooting someone. I mean, that's terrible, obviously. But, I mean, I could imagine the devastating pain this criminal might have gone through, going to jail, and going through such depression that led him to take his life away. I mean, I could imagine how tough, how painful, how depressing he was. He was, you know. I mean, taking your life away is just something major, and something that many people, especially for the people that go to jail, do. Um, I think that this guy is kind of reminding me of O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was another football player, and he went to jail, and I'm not sure if he will be released soon or not, because I have heard some rumors about him maybe being released. But he, I believe, is also a murderer, and well, he's also a criminal, and he also was in the football team. He also did football. So, he also played football. So, yeah, I mean, it's just stories like these that are very, very devastating and very shocking. From becoming a player to becoming a criminal, like I said, it's just nothing to be proud of. It isn't. And in my opinion about um my opinion about him being transported to a hospital, um he it's people like those that once you find them dead in a jail cell, there's technically nothing you can do. I mean, I'm sure the doctors did the best they can to recuperate the guy's life, but he just couldn't, survive. And, I mean, not only was he sentenced to life in prison, but also there were no chances of parole for him. Because for some people, there are chances of parole, but he didn't end up being one of those lucky people. And being in life in prison is just awful. I can imagine. Like, I know it's already awful being in jail for just a year or just a month, but for a whole year, for your whole entire life is I can imagine is even more than devastating. It is the worst thing someone could ever experience. And as for Miss Jenkins, which is Mr. Hernandez's fiance, um, well, it says that it says of a box, and I'm wondering what that box is. That she said Mr. Hernandez instructed her in removing, and for her to remove from their house. So yeah. So anyway, those were the news about Aaron Hernandez. I hope everybody is enjoying their day. This was my talk show with me, Jose. Bye.